In today's video, I'm going to teach you the difference between sales training and sales coaching. There is a difference and they are important, and there is a distinction that we need to understand so that you, the salesperson or person who's trying to get better at something, can learn where best to put your efforts and why. In 7th level and in Sales Sniper, we use a methodology developed by Jeremy Miner called NEPQ. Now, NEPQ is a baseline structure that we use, and that's the foundation of our training. Training is the learning of a process that you can fall back to, and the coaching is the dialing in of individual components of that process so that you can get an exponential result. In NEPQ, we essentially have 7 phases for you to follow. So we have connection, situation, problem awareness, solution awareness, consequence, commitment, and presentation. So those phases are laid out in a particular way to get a particular outcome, which is that we get the sale a majority or consistent amount of time. In order for you to train and get better at sales, what I get people to do is understand the methodology first and foremost, because we can't do any coaching and any specific training until the baseline foundation is there. You do not learn how to Olympic lift before you know how to do a bench press. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. You have to learn the foundations and then train the foundations so that you're essentially become automatic. I'm sure you've seen movies where you have the special forces guy kind of blindfolded, taking apart a gun. Now, obviously no one's going to ask him in real time to be able to do that. However, if he can do that blindfolded, then when he's getting shot at, he actually has to fix his gun and he's looking around making sure he doesn't get shot in the teeth, and it becomes automatic. The training is absolutely automatic. So for you, the sales rep or the person who's trying to get good or trying to utilize a system or NEPQ, understanding those phases and being able to break them down and knowing why they stack together, what the history is, and being an actual student is what gets you good at understanding the core principles. Therefore, you have a fallback position to not only understanding kind of how you're putting things together, but why you're putting things together that way. And then coaching can actually become valuable. A lot of people, they'll come and ask me, hey man, can I ask you questions about this or about this? Or when we sign up someone to one of our coaching programs, they'll come to me and say, hey, can you help me with this question? And the first thing I'll ask is, what are the phases of NEPQ? Why do they stack together? And give me a couple of example questions. Now, if they can't answer that, then it's not that I'm being a dick about it. It's just that they haven't done the foundational training. So me giving them that answer, one, it doesn't do any benefit for them because they might not understand what I'm trying to tell them. But two, it just means that they're trying to shortcut the process. So I want to bring them back to having the training to have the fallback position. Now then we move into the coaching side. So once you've got all that, then we can move into coaching. Now the coaching is the dialing in of very, very specific things. And it can be different for everybody, but that's why it's coaching. And so let's just say that someone is having trouble, getting specific questions or getting specific problems, or, they're kind of having people be a little bit vague on calls. So they need to learn how to be more specific in their questioning, but without being overt about it. So what I'll do is I'll teach them tonality or, some social cueing things that they can do in order to get better answers from their prospects or be more clear without being obvious. An example of this would be like, hey man, so, that kind of coaching and accountability that you're looking for, why is that important to you now though? Now I can ask that question in that way. However, it's a little bit vague. They can answer it in a few different methods, right? But if I say, okay, so that coaching and accountability, why is that important to you now though? Or I can say, well, why is that important to you now though? Now those will have different outcomes. One will reference more the thing and one will reference more the time frame. So depending on the situation or the prospect that I'm speaking to or the outcome that I want, I'll ask that question in specific ways to get specific outcomes so I can move the ball forward. Now that's not going to help somebody who doesn't understand the phases that come prior and the phases that come subsequently, because everything stacks together as a system. So that's the real difference between coaching and training. Training is the methodology that you have as a fallback position so that you can learn the basics, the fundamentals, the foundations, so you can actually drive the ball forward and have a decent standard. And coaching is the very specific feedback loops and adjustments that somebody who is skilled makes. Which is why now what I want to tell you is a couple things to avoid when it comes to coaching. And these are the lowest hanging fruit that you can stop doing or maybe avoid even starting altogether. That's going to kind of bring you unstuck. One of the main things that I see is inexperienced people utilizing each other as role play partners. Now, I cannot tell you how much of a bad idea this is. Let's say you've never shot a gun before. Me, as an ex-sniper, I'd be a pretty good person to teach you how to shoot. I understand the fundamentals. I know all the training, I know how to take someone through that, and I'm at a good standard myself. If I had never shot a gun before, would you ask me to teach you? No, you wouldn't. And us providing feedback to each other is going to be useless because none of us know what we're doing. So if you're new to a program, whether it's NEPQ or anything else, do not reach out to new students for anything but support. Do not help each other. You will not be helping. All you're going to be doing is giving each other bad habits. The other thing is don't try and skip the steps. One thing that I look at in the portal, I can see the watch time for every individual, and I can see how many times they log in. For example, one of our clients, Sean, he makes $100,000 a month. He's been in our programs for about 3 years. He still logs into our basic portal 30 minutes every single day. So he's still doing the fundamentals, he's still doing his training, and then he gets his coaching in the programs, right? Skipping the steps to get to the cool stuff is a terrible idea, and it's one that I see all the time. You have to learn the foundation stuff to be able to utilize some of the more advanced techniques and tactics. Doesn't mean that you can't do them, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to learn them, but it's a waste of time to try and do all this fancy guru shit when you haven't mastered the basics. Don't Olympic lift before you can bench press. So those are some of the pitfalls that I see people make. Remember, go out there, learn a system, try and sort of understand the basics of it, then from there get some coaching.